This video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Hey guys, Big Paul here. Today we're going to talk about 8 bro myths. There's a bazillion bro myths, but these are some ones that stand out in my head that I get asked and talked to about all the time by people that reach out to me, ones that drive me absolutely nuts. We're going to dig into it in just 1 minute. All right, bro myth number 1. This one drives me absolutely batshit crazy, and I hear other guys on YouTube talking about it, and it's just kind of an old school bodybuilding mentality. All the guys from the 90s and 2000s, they say that you have to cycle off to let your androgen receptor sensitivity reset. And it always cracks me up. Like, I even heard Jay Cutler, I think he was on Greg Doucette recently, talking about how he always cycled off. But then he talked about how he used Sustanon and Equipoise. And I'm like, dude, he said he would cycle off and he would take off like 8 weeks. I'm like, dude, the esters in both of those, it takes 5 half-lives for for a compound to eliminate from your system. So you were still on, even though you weren't taking shots. I mean, the Equipoise and the Sustanon are going to be in your system for months. You didn't cycle off. So it's just a big bro myth. There's been study after study after study done showing that androgen receptors actually upregulate, not downregulate, when you take super physiological doses of gear. So the whole cycling off thing is just a bunch of bunk. Myth number 2 that drives me absolutely nuts is different esters have different effects. The ester doesn't change the fundamental properties of the compound. Testosterone is testosterone is testosterone, no matter what the ester is. The only thing the ester changes is how long the compound stays in your system. It changes the half-life, how long it takes to peak, how long it takes to get in your system. So when dudes say that test prop is different than test enanthate, no, it's not. The only thing you might be experiencing is maybe it hitting your system faster, or because how you're timing things, you might get different side effects, but the fundamental properties of the compound do not change. The next bro myth: insulin is a killer. Every time I bring insulin up, like, bro, you shouldn't be taking insulin. Insulin kills people. Like, where are you getting that from? I don't know where this whole insulin is a killer thing came along. I think somebody just put it out there because initially on boards, because some people are just too fucking stupid to be taking insulin and they make themselves go hypo. But I read a study recently about people that deliberately tried to commit suicide with insulin. And there was a group of people, it was like 300, they were taking 300 plus units at one time, and they weren't dying from it. You know, some of them went into shock or coma, but they were able to pull people out of it. Like, it's very, very, I'm not saying you can't die from taking insulin, but you really have to work hard at it. And think about all the diabetics there are in this country. There are millions of diabetics, and the emergency rooms aren't being plagued with people falling over dead from insulin. It cracks me up that dudes have this illogical fear of insulin, but yet they'll take crazy-ass diuretics that do kill. Guys die all the time from fucking up diuretics. It happens all the time. I mean, there were several female competitors last year that passed away from not taking diuretics properly. We all know about that, but nobody ever talks about it. It's insulin's the boogeyman. Insulin's going to kill you. You have to fuck up pretty bad to die from insulin, and I have yet to hear of one bodybuilder dying from insulin. If you know of them, let me know, because I haven't heard of them. But with that said, be careful taking insulin. The next bro myth: growth hormone causes cancer. There have been study after study after study after study done on growth hormone, and there has been no direct correlation between growth hormone and increased rates of cancer. Now, with that said, if you have an existing cancer, growth hormone can speed up the growth of the cancerous cells in the body. So growth hormone promotes growth. So logic would reason that if you already have an existing cancer, that it would grow faster. But there are no increased rate. In study after study, you look at the studies, there is no increased rate of cancer from a normal person to people that take growth hormone. It's just a bro myth. It's not true. The next bro myth: you have to train to failure and beyond to progress. That is just not true. Once again, all the modern studies show that you do not have to train to failure to progress. I haven't trained to failure in years, and I've made some of the best progress of my life. That's not to say you don't train hard, but there's a difference between training hard and training to failure. And I think most people have no idea what failure really is. It is kind of a subjective thing when you think about it. Is failure when your form breaks down? Is failure when you can't do anymore? Is failure when you get done cheating on an exercise and bouncing it off of you? Where is failure? So no, you don't have to train to failure or beyond to progress. What's even more baffling about it is if you look at powerlifters, they are the strongest, most badass motherfuckers on the planet. But powerlifters never train to failure. Never. The only time they hit failure is when they're peaking for a meet. That is it. They're not training to failure any other time. Their training is periodized and scheduled out. They do percentages of maxes and yada yada. They're not training to failure, yet they get stronger, they get bigger. Only bodybuilders have this notion that you have to be a hardcore motherfucker and train to failure all the time. And all you're really doing is probably just hurting yourself, increasing the amount of time that it takes to recover, and you can't train as frequently, and you probably are limiting growth, to be honest with you. The next bro myth: insulin makes you fat. Insulin can make you fat, but insulin doesn't have to make you fat. Insulin's just a storage hormone. It's not the boogeyman. Once again, another insulin boogeyman story. Insulin and carbs don't make you fat. Eating like an asshole makes you fat. Eating like shit. And I think where people fuck up with insulin is they don't know how to use it, and they don't know how to eat while they take insulin. And that's why they get fat, because they try to match their food to their insulin intake. They think more is better, which is the bodybuilding mentality. So they just take more and more and more insulin, and you take more insulin, you get hangry, and you eat all kinds of junk, and then that's when you get fat. And pounding a bunch of high fat foods while you're eating insulin, when you're in a insulinemic state and your body preferentially burns carbohydrates as fuel, what do you think it's going to do with all those excess fats that you eat? They're going to get stored as fat. So that's why you get fat from insulin. It's not from the insulin itself. It's from eating like an asshole. The next bro myth. This is another one that drives me absolutely batshit crazy, is that you have to take Caber or something similar to prevent high prolactin when you are on 19 Nors. I don't know where guys get this idea from. People weren't doing this until like the last decade or so. I'd never heard of anybody taking it before. And what's funny to me is, like, I'll have dudes that say, hey, how much Caber should I take with this nandrolone cycle? And I'll ask them, do you actually have high prolactin? And you get the puzzled look on their face. And I've asked people to go get their blood work done when they think they have high prolactin. And guess what? Almost never have I seen somebody with actual high prolactin. It almost never happens. And if you do get high prolactin, just stop using the offending drug or lower the dose. That's all you have to do. The whole high prolactin thing from 19 Nors is mostly a myth. I mean, it can happen, but it's extremely uncommon. So there's no reason to be proactively taking Caber. There just isn't. I have an entire video up on that one if you want to check it out. And my final bro myth, this one irks me to no, and I get this one almost daily when I'm talking to new, doing consults and talking to new, coaching clients. I ask them how they're managing blood pressure. And, I suggest taking an ARB or an ACE inhibitor, and they're like, oh, yo, bro, I'm good. I'm taking Cialis for my blood pressure. Like, Cialis? You're taking an erectile dysfunction medicine for your androgen-induced high blood pressure. Explain to me how that fixes it. When you look at the data on Cialis and lowering blood pressure, there's all kinds of research out there. I'm going to do a video up on this one individually and go through the research studies. You want to know how much Cialis actually lowers your blood pressure? I remember the diastolic number was something like 1 to 2 points, and the systolic was like 3. That is almost nothing. It makes almost zero difference in lowering your blood pressure. I think dudes just want an excuse to take something to give them a hard on without saying they need something to take to give them a hard on. They're just embarrassed that they can't get their dick hard, and so they're saying they're taking it for the blood pressure. So I think that's what's going on there. They're just jumping through mental hoops to justify taking Cialis, which if you want to take Cialis, go for it. I don't really give a fuck. I mean, it will maybe lower your blood pressure a little bit, but it does not address the underlying cause of androgen-induced hypertension, which is stimulation of the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system. It does nothing to address that. So it is not helping us solve the problem of androgen-induced high blood pressure at all. All right, guys, that's all I got for you on this one. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I'm sure there's plenty more bro myths. If you have other bro myths you want to talk about, put them in the comments section below. Please take the time to subscribe to my channel. I get a lot of guys watching my videos, not that many people subscribing. It's incredibly frustrating. I think I had close to 100,000 viewers last month and only a couple hundred people subscribed. I don't know how that works, but anyway, guys, I really appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for watching my channel, and take care. For coaching or consultations, head over to www.anabolicbodybuilding.com to book your spot today. I can help you with optimizing hormones, fat loss, muscle gain, physique, athletic performance, nutrition, and health. For more information, shoot me an email at bigp3rd@gmail.com.